Okay.
Oh boy, technology. What could we do without it?
I don't know. No, Mary, we need that window closed over there. Thank you. All right. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, you know how a lot of times you go to shows and they say this is a man that needs no introduction. Well, literally, this is a man that needs literally needs no introduction. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit frazzled because we've been trying to get the technology to work for the last 30 minutes. And it's working now. So without further ado, the man, the legend, he has been an icon in the plant-based world, actually just in the field of medicine for the last 40 years. And he is here today to talk about a topic that's very important to him, to everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. John McDougall.
Thank you, AJ, my good friend. I very much appreciate the introduction, and I very much appreciate a chance to talk to your followers who have learned a part of the truth that I've been teaching for 46 years. And I'd like to kind of start out by addressing that. First of all, I'm sure most of your listeners understand that I'm a board certified internist, and I'm not politically correct. Yet, I don't try and offend people. I just have this, I have this requirement to tell the truth. And it was taught to me by my parents. And so I run into this obstacle. And that is that, I just have to tell you the truth as I see it. Now, I certainly am willing to change my mind. But 46 years ago, I started telling you the truth about food. 46 years, AJ, 46 years ago, I went into my chief of medicine's office. I almost got thrown out of residency twice and medical school twice. Can you believe that?
I can.
Yeah, I believe that. Okay. Well, back when I graduated from from residency in 1976, I back then said to my chief of medicine, I said, he called me in for a heart-to-heart talk on my last day after I had my residency certificate. I said to him, I have discovered what causes 80% of the illnesses that I'm taking care of. And besides that, not only have I discovered what causes 80% of the illnesses, I said, if you stop throwing gasoline on a fire, people get well. And of course, he looked at me like I was a little on the nuts side. And then, of course, our last conversation was, he told me, he says, John, I really like you, but you're going to starve to death with all your crazy ideas about a vegetarian diet. And I said, well, Dr. Schatz was his name. I said, Dr. Schatz, I said, you know what? I may starve to death. I said, but, I know the truth about drug therapy and surgery therapy, et cetera. And that in a good share of the cases, people are being treated inappropriately. They have dietary diseases. They're chronic diseases like obesity, diabetes, cancer, heart disease, and so on. And these are dietary problems, and they should be treated by fixing the food. Well, and I said, look, Chief Irv Schatz, buddy. I didn't say that, of course. He very much respected him. I said, look, I don't believe that's correct. I said, I believe that I'm not going to collect just bums and hippies. I said, what I'm going to collect is I'm going to collect a whole bunch of people who have said to themselves along the way, look at me, I'm such a big success. Look at me, I got so much money. I've gotten an education. I have this great family. How come I'm so fat? How come I'm failing in my health? And I told Dr. Schatz, I said, when people ask that question, I'm going to be there. And AJ, I thought there'd be a line from my office in Kailua, Hawaii, to the Honolulu airport waiting to see me. I've been waiting 46 years for that line to even start, much less appear. So, go ahead.
Dr. McDougall, just please excuse me one moment. You're getting a little bit of feedback. Is it possible that one of those other programs that we were testing on is still open? Because what you have to say is so important. I don't want it to be lost in the feedback. In the meantime, while you're clicking, I'll just tell you we have a lot of wonderful live comments.
I've lost you. I had you on Skype. That was the problem.
Okay. I didn't want to interrupt, but at the same time,
we can only get audio on Skype.
Right. Perfect. Because now you're coming in loud and clear. And if you don't mind, there's so many comments about how much people love you and Mary. Dr. McDougall saved my life 32 years ago. I love Dr. McDougall. I love Dr. McDougall. And it's so funny. Oh, don't call me on Skype right now.
All right. Are you
perfect.
there?
Dr. McDougall, I just met one of your original patients from Hawaii, a gentleman in his 70s when I was teaching at Rancho La Puerta in Mexico, and he still remembers what a wonderful doctor you were in Hawaii 40 years ago. Did you mean to call me on Skype? Are you meaning to call me on Skype?
All right.
Hi, you're good, Dr. McDougall. You can talk. Dr. McDougall, you're live.
Well, AJ, here's the problem, is our audio that I hear you on comes on Skype. Do you hear me okay?
I hear you perfectly. And I think
Just say
everybody
yes, nod
else.
your head yes. Okay. Can your listeners hear me okay?
Listeners, can you hear Dr. McDougall, please?
You can't speak to me like that because I can't hear you. Can your listeners hear me okay?
Type in the chat box if you can hear
You gotta
Dr.
go
McDougall.
like this. Go like this, AJ. Call me on the phone. I'm talking. Can you hear me? Keep going. You want me to do the whole talk by myself without any feedback from you, right? All right. Only for you would I do this. Otherwise, I'd ask you to hang up and get your, anyway. All right, AJ, are you ready? You just tell me if you can't hear me. And with no feedback, I can say whatever I darn please, right? You got it. All right. So when we ended the conversation, we were talking about the fact that for 46 years, I have known the cause of most of the chronic illnesses that people suffer from in developed societies, okay? And that line has never formed interest in my ideas. As a matter of fact, back when I first discovered all this, 14% of the people were obese. Now we're approaching 40%. And I live here in Portland, and I guarantee you, this is not the city of good health. This is Portland, Oregon. Every place I go, particularly the young ladies, obesity, being overweight, whatever you want to call it, is the norm. I go to the dentist, I go to the doctor's office, et cetera. I go visit. Everybody's big, oversized. So anyway, I've tried to get people to listen to my message. You know, some folks have, like you, and you've listened to what I had to say. And I have to tell you, AJ, I kind of gave up. I had a chance to educate maybe, I would guess, 3,500 doctors indirectly or directly by my work with ACLM, and that's why I give 3,500 as the number, because I had a big influence on the development and the progress of American College of Lifestyle Medicine. So let's just say I've had a chance to influence a lot of physicians, and there are a lot of doctors out there that have a better bedside manner than I do. And also they know a lot of things that I've forgotten and brand new things that I'll never learn. So there are other doctors that have kind of taken over my role. Well, heck, you have, AJ, trying to tell people the truth about things. And so I don't have to do that anymore. I'm done. I sit there and answer questions for people. In fact, I just got an email. Somebody had a lymph node that was in their groin and worried it was cancer or whatever. And, we talked about infection. So I answer emails, but by and large, I'm done taking care of patients. I'm almost 73 years old. And, but I took on a new project about 14 years ago. It started with Al Gore, An Inconvenient Truth. And I realized that these changes in the climate that are going on had a cause. And then we had the World Health Organization come out in, let's see, it was 1987, probably, 1987. They came out and they said that 18% of the greenhouse gases are due to our agriculture, compared to 14% due to transportation, et cetera. And I know all of you know that report, Livestock's Law and Chatham. Big influence on me. And then what happened was, of course, Al Gore couldn't make the connection. Then what happened is the World Watch Institute came out and said that over half the greenhouse gases, you're familiar with all this data, so I don't have to repeat it. Okay, so here I'm sitting 14 years ago and I got 7 grandkids. Well, I didn't have 7 at that time, but I'm thinking, my goodness, they have no future. My kids and grandkids have no future. And what I thought is, well, I've got a new project, and that is to try and do my part to share with people so that my grandkids would have a future. Now, I want you to put this in perspective, AJ, because it goes on to our COVID discussion right now. Is here you have a situation where people would not listen to me for 46 years when I had taught the cause and cure. And I wasn't the first one. I mean, Nathan Pritikin, and we could go back, probably several hundred years ago, back to Daniel in the Bible. So these are not original thoughts. Anyways, for 46 years, I've tried to get people to listen, and they haven't. But now they're going to listen. And I'll tell you why. It's because of COVID-19 virus. So this is all going to come together in just a second. And the same thing with the planet. I've been at my ACLM meeting back in October of 2019. I didn't want to. They gave me the Lifetime Achievement Award. And yeah, right, big deal. Anyway, I didn't really care to travel all the way to Orlando, but they said I could take 9 minutes to give a message, and I took 21. And that message was to tell the people at ACLM, there were 500 people in the room, 1,500 that heard the talk at least. And I gave them a talk on climate change. And I told them, I said, look, you folks know about food. Nobody else does. Who do you expect to take and stand behind the project of fixing the food? Well, remember, Al Gore said that we have a planet that's about ready to go in extinction because of global warming, because of man-made activities. We have the World Health Organization and World Watch Institute saying that food is our number one card to play, and nobody's listening. AJ, again, let's go back to COVID, which is where we are right now. What I could see here, we have in the last 3 weeks, we have an emptying of the streets. We have clear skies in China. We have fish and dolphins in the canals of Venice that people can see. In other words, we have a glimpse of a potential future where my kids and grandkids would have a life and a future. So we've got that glimpse. And the other, I want you to sit back and think about, AJ and all your followers, is that 3 weeks ago, we're all going to restaurants, we're on cruise ships. I had tickets for airplane rides 3 weeks ago. And where are we right now? It is possible. We don't have to wait until Florida's under 20 feet of water. It is possible for the population of the planet to change, to save itself. But the problem is by the time this discussion came up, Florida would be covered with 20 feet of water. It'd be too little to go, just like we are now with the COVID virus. People go, oh, I wish I'd have done something. It's too late. So to me, and again, I want you to take this correctly and make sure you understand me. If you don't, just go like this, AJ. To me, the COVID-19 has been an opportunity. I've been so depressed for the last 4 years thinking people are never going to change. They're so happy about riding around in their fancy cars and their airplanes, et cetera. And certainly we're going from the top down for change, and it's not going to happen. We got to go from the bottom up. So people aren't willing to change. They're happy-go-lucky. Everything's wonderful. They would just take and burn this place to hell. And then they go, oh, we got to act. Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now, over the last 3 weeks, you've seen the potential of the human being. Okay? So that's why I'm excited. I'm optimistic, is because we've all, as a species, been put in place to see, number one, we can still fix the planet. Number two, we have the ability to change when the stakes are great enough and people understand what the risks are. The recent intergovernmental panel on climate change said we've got 9 years left. But I think unless we've hit the tipping point, I would guess we got 6 years left or less. So it's not a matter of sitting around waiting to decide, oh, I'm going to change now. You decided 3 weeks ago that you were going to change because you were scared to death of dying of COVID virus, and you still are. So it's time to listen. Am I getting too excited, AJ? Should I calm down a little bit? All right, I can't see that. Just a minute. Please, what?
People are saying Dr. McDougall for president.
Are you saying that Dr. McDougall's for president? No. But you know what? I tell you, AJ, and I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but the world needs a few leaders. And, I kind of look at, I spent all kinds of time. I wrote 13 national best-selling books. I've taken care of 12,000 people. I have a passion for the science. I never really envisioned myself in a role of leadership, but hey, even though I'm almost 73 years old, I think I'm prepared to take a small part in the leadership that needs to be done, which is food. I know more about food than a lot of people. Okay. That's been my passion in life. So what I want to do is I want to get to a conversation of how this applies to COVID-19. First, you have to understand the impact. We're talking about 8 billion people. Half of them are living on the Western rich America diet. So that obesity has become common in China. China reported in 1980 they had no cases of obesity and fewer than 1% of the population was diabetic. In 2013, they reported that 12% were fully diabetic and half were pre-diabetic in China. 2 years ago, India said that finally our middle class is as sick as our upper class. It's only the lower class in India that still retain good health because of the change that's taking place in food. So we have a very sick planet, and in fact, being overweight and ill is the norm. So, all right. So no one would listen to, it wasn't that important because I could walk around overweight and, all I have to do is shoot myself up with a couple of shots of insulin or take some diabetic pills or heart disease pills, or I'm not going to worry about my rheumatoid arthritis because I just take these biologic agents and natural T cell fighters and on and on. I just take these drugs and my insurance company will pay for it. So what do I care? I'll just stay sick and fat and just, excuse me, I know it's not supposed to say fat. All right. So anyway, nobody would change. And it's the same thing with the climate. When I give you this talk on COVID-19, I want you to know I'm talking about my grandchildren. All right. So, and nobody's interested in really, okay, they're interested, but not enough interested to take action. Just like I told the American College of Lifestyle Medicine doctors in October, I know you're interested. I know that you realize this is true, but are you interested enough? Are you concerned enough to take action? And I got 3 standing ovations, but you know what? I never got a phone call after that. So here you have, 3,500 men and women, dedicated health professionals who should know and do know about human nutrition and preventive medicine, and they are not interested. Why? Because they're scared. They don't think that they really have a role to play. They won't take their leadership role. And quite frankly, I'm shocked. All right. So here you have these two issues. You got me working for 46 years and failing, as far as I'm concerned, because I wasn't able to spread the message to the people that needed it, except for you and some followers. You've got me failing to give my grandchildren a future. And I take this personal. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, in December it started, out of the blue comes COVID-19. Whoa, hey, guess what? I could die. And let me tell you something before we go on, AJ. This is real personal to me. My son is a physician. My daughter-in-law, board certified internist, is a professor at OHSU right down the street. My daughter-in-law is a family practitioner working on the front lines. I want you to know that they just reported this morning that in Italy, 15% of the healthcare workers died. Okay? And we're talking to a doctor, again, it was on the news this morning. The doctor said that between 10 and 14% of their healthcare workers have either died or on the verge of death. So this is not just a disease of old people, like some people say. Hey, let's just kill off all the old folks and we'll be just fine. And you've heard that recently, haven't you? I can give you a few references to it too. Well, I'm one of those old folks. You better not kill me off. All right. So let's get down. Let's say, okay, so you got those two viewpoints. Here, my past 46 years, my last 14 years, and I'm 73. And if I got 10 or 20 more years left, that's all I'm going to do is I'm going to fight for my grandchildren. So COVID-19 comes along and says to all of us, all 8 billion people on this planet, not only can the planet recover, and she will, you just give her half a chance and she'll heal just like my patients do. Not only can we give the planet a chance to recover, but we are capable as a species. 8 billion of us are capable of making changes overnight. I look outside, there are no cars on the road. The streets of New York are barren, which is the way the airlines are shut down. AJ, that's what we need to save the planet. Is that too big a price to pay? You'll save your own butt. Yeah, but you won't save my children or my grandchildren. All right, so let's get back to saving your own butt. Can I say that?
Yes, absolutely. You could
CNN,
even say
right?
ass if you wanted.
All right, so here we go. And I did a whole presentation. There are a couple of things I want to tell you, AJ. I want your listeners to know. Mary and I, we still talk to the crowds. You know, we love our communication, personal communication with people. We did 2 videos about 3 weeks ago. One was on the discussion of the Spanish flu, SARS-1 and SARS-2, which is the virus that's ravages now. And what you need to do to make your immune system better so that, and by the way, I may have been exposed to COVID-19, Mary and I, about 2 months ago, in Vancouver, in Washington, state of Washington. And also I may have been exposed from a family member. So I may have already been through it. So I'm going to get a blood test soon, as soon as I get ready, to see whether or not I made antibodies to COVID-19. Because I was exposed to it, as you were, as many people were finding out. Oh, I mean, good God, what do they say, 60, 80% of the population, 40% at least is infected. So I think Mary and I probably caught it back 2 months ago, but it doesn't matter, except that it leads into the conversation I'm going to give you. But don't take and come back to me when I drop dead or end up on a ventilator and say, hey, all the stuff you told me was not true, worth my while. But what I'm going to teach you now is what I know about making the immune system as functional as possible, as I think Mary and I have done, which I want you to do. And you can watch the 2 videos, and not only do I tell you how to do it, but Mary and I sit there for a little over an hour and we show you how to keep a sterile environment. You need to keep a sterile environment. You know, one of the things I keep thinking about is a guy named Frank Johnson in medical school. He was kind of a nerd type guy. And we're sitting in class one day. He says, how many sperm does it take to get a woman pregnant? Okay. How many coronaviruses does it take to infect you, your family, and the whole damn community? Okay, let's get on with the discussion. So we talked about sterile environment. You need to keep that little guy out of your house and keep away from him or her, whatever, gender neutral. So Mary and I, in that one video, taught you about sterile technique, how to put your gloves on, take them off, wear masks, etc. We're going into a brave new world, and how to keep your place clean, isolate yourself. The other thing we did is we told you about 100 pounds of food we gather together. You know, we're very strict vegan, and we eat beans and rice and corn and potatoes, mostly starch, which, by the way, is dry, so it doesn't weigh as much. We got 100 pounds of it. When the refrigeration goes off, my starch is just as edible as it ever was. Even if my heat goes off, I can take and soak the barley, et cetera, and eat it. So I'm well stocked. I've got, in fact, the water guy's coming tomorrow. He's going to drop another 6 bottles of water off. We're ready. And AJ, you know, I don't plan on leaving. I know we hear some people say by Easter or the end of the month or something, we'll be back out there in the streets. Everything will be normal. Stock market will be up, and so will win the election. I'll tell you, what people I'm listening to say it's going to be 3, 6, 9, 12, 18 months. And, you know, there's every reason to believe that. And I'll tell you, AJ, is everything going okay?
Yes, Dr.
I want to tell you,
McDougall.
if it's not COVID-19 that comes, ladies and gentlemen, the words I have to tell you are so important because, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be COVID-20 that's going to come out, or not the Spanish influenza, but the French influenza. We have a situation on planet Earth because of global warming, because of overpopulation of Homo sapiens, because of overcrowding, overpopulation of animal farming, because of millions of viruses in these animal farms, mingling amongst, 80 billion animals up for slaughter. You understand, you've got that whole story. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, hold on. This is just the beginning. Next, there'll be another virus within 6 months, a year or so on. And so your only defense really is to learn about isolating yourself, which they call quarantine, whatever. How do you get yourself away from that one corona or whatever, influenza or Ebola or whatever thing that's coming to get you? You need to know that, and you need to know how to make yourself as healthy as possible. All right, so let's talk about some of the things. At first, I want to give you some of the peripherals. You suppress your immune system by doing the following. Over-exercising. Marathon and triathlon runners need to be very careful. It's time to stop your running. postpone the Olympics because these people are weakening their immune system by this extraordinary exercise and setting them up for failure and infection. But one thing I want to add to note as you watch the lecture I gave is that the Kenyans, who are winning all the marathons and triathlons these days, at least 60, 80% of them, live on a corn-based diet, and they do well, and they don't get, they have great immune systems. So it depends on what you eat, so over-exercising, but I think you can counter some of that by eating properly. Okay, the other thing is don't get too much sunshine. Enough, you need enough, but if you get sunburned, you'll be in trouble. Oh, there's a whole bunch of other things I discussed there about here we have a whole bunch of people on cancer chemotherapy. And AJ, I'm not going to go into the details right now, but I've spent 50 years studying this, 52 years. And I want to tell you, most of the cancer chemotherapy developed in World War II from mustard gases and other types of toxic killing substances are basically do more harm than good. The exceptions are childhood cancers, lymphomas, and leukemias. But otherwise, you give chemotherapy to somebody who has lung cancer, breast cancer, colon cancer, prostate cancer, you're wasting their money, you're doing them harm. The benefits are not what they're being sold for. You've been lied to. So I think you all ought to go in, who have cancer on chemotherapy, et cetera, you ought to go and say, Doc, I want the evidence to say more good than harm is being done to me. And of course, my February 2015 newsletter is about how the American Cancer Society has come out and said, as an official statement, the American Cancer Society has come out and said a fundamental treatment of cancers, we're talking about breast, colon, prostate, melanoma, et cetera, is a diet in the direction that you and I believe to be in. Not a paleo diet, not a high carb or a high protein, low carb diet like Atkins, et cetera, but the kind of diet, plant-based diet that we're involved in. So you're a cancer patient, you're on a bunch of drugs that are doing more harm than good, and nobody's availed you to the information that says that you need to change your diet to live longer, which the evidence shows. You can look at my February 2015 newsletter. Click on the links, you'll see the scientific studies. All right, well, another area, and you watch CNN or any of these news stations, what do they advertise? They advertise these biologic agents to knock down your immune system. If you have ulcerative colitis, rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, lupus, et cetera. You go, oh, wonderful. Of course, they have another 90 seconds of adverse effects that you're going to get. You're going to die this, die that, and so on. But you sit and listen, oh boy, if I could just suppress my immune system so the joints wouldn't hurt very badly. Ladies and gentlemen, you're setting yourself up for death. You're so likely to get infected. All right, so what do you do? Well, it was in my May 2010 newsletter, I believe. Doesn't matter, you'll find it. There's a whole bunch of stuff I wrote about rheumatoid arthritis, how to treat it. Our success rate with these inflammatory autoimmune diseases, all the way from Crohn's to ulcerative colitis to psoriatic arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, our success rate approaches, if you're not starting to get better in 4 to 7 days, I want to hear about it. I would say that if you're not expecting these crooked joints to straighten out, all you expect to do is be pain-free and have a better life. Our success rate is approaching that of curing constipation. I hope you can relate to that. All right, so you got a whole bunch of people on useless drugs that are suppressing the immune system. By the way, it's as common as non-steroidals like Motrin and Advil, suppresses the immune system. Yes. All right, so you need to get off the drugs. You need to take and eat well, get some sunshine, exercise. Now let's talk about the eating well thing. Now again, we're talking about COVID-19 or any other virus. You want to, let's just guess that Mary and I got infected a couple of months ago by either going to the grocery store or with close relatives that work in the hospital. So let's just guess that. Let's just guess, and again, I risk being on a ventilator dead by stating this. Let's just say that because we eat well and because we take pretty good care of ourselves, that we got one of those mild infections like a young person would. They talk about, for most people, 80% is just a mild stuffy nose, cough, et cetera. Well, maybe we're in that 80% category because we're in pretty good shape. Now, along with that whole story goes the fact that I heard on this morning and last night on the news that, what is it? I mean, you can correct me on this, like 52% of the people who are on ventilators and ICUs are under the age of 65. Okay? And now I heard a note from somebody, and again, we're talking about comorbid factors. Oh yeah, they're under 65, but they got diabetes, et cetera. Well, they do. 80% of the population, half the people in this country are pre-diabetic, 14% are frankly diabetic. So yeah, they're diabetic. And the ER intensive care doctor said last night, the people who are dying in their 20s and 30s are obese. They've shot their immune system. So you see how this ties together. I've been talking to people for 46 years about getting their health, getting rid of their diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, et cetera. They haven't listened. Now, if COVID comes up and talks to them, okay, you're too fat, you got diabetes, you got cardiovascular disease, which they say are all the comorbid factors that set you up to be acutely ill, done. So how do you fix this whole problem? Well, let's go back 46 years. We get everybody to change their diet like I thought they would. Let's go forward and talk about the future. If everybody changes their diet like I thought they would 46 years ago, then my grandchildren have a future. And that's the only reason I'm talking to you about this. So if you see a short-term agenda in my discussion, realize I've got a long-term agenda. All right, I talked to you about the food. I'll tell you what the food does. Well, let me tell you a little story first. Ready for this, AJ? One of the most important things I discovered was McDougall. This is in, I think, one of my 2012 newsletters. It's called Lessons from the Past, or something from the past, lessons for the future. Better. It's about McDougall, who was a nutritionist in the 1900s. He was from Denmark. Okay, Denmark. And Denmark, if you recall the geography, is located between Germany and Britain. So they set up the British, here, Hinhidi's this famous nutritionist in Denmark. And by the way, in school, part of the history lesson for students these days is about McDougall Hinhidi. So Hinhidi is very influential on the government there, and Denmark has 3 million people. So Hinhidi says, and convinces the country, 3 million people in Denmark, to change their diet. Instead of eating the pigs and the cows, you eat the pig and cow food. So they changed their diet, and back, this is between 1914 and 1918. They changed their diet. They had the lowest death rate. They figured they saved 6,000 people. They had the lowest death rate that Denmark has ever had, before or since. 34% reduction in death rate from all causes. Now that's important, and it makes you step back and say, okay, 3 million people could go on a vegetarian diet. Don't you think we do that to save the planet? You see, Denmark was located between Britain and Germany. And so when they set up the blockade during World War I, by the way, 1917 is worth watching. They set up the blockade during World War I. The people in Denmark had a choice. We could either starve to death like the Germans did, and 400,000 Germans starved to death because they keep the basic four, good nutrition, a reasonable diet, and they starved to death. But, not a single person in all this 4-year period of time was hungry. And, diabetes disappeared, obesity disappeared, the death rate, the overall death rate dropped 34%. They saved 6,000 lives. Now, let me get to the point of the story. This is all about the climate change and the fact that people are capable, 3 million people are capable of doing this. Let's look back at Spanish flu. This is when Spanish flu occurred, back in 1914, 1919. It was actually 1919 to 1920. All right, you look at the incidence of Spanish flu, and believe me, if I could show you the slides, you just keep watching, because I'm going to show you. You look at the incidence of fatalities from swine flu in Denmark, and you compare it to Germany and the other countries, you find that they had almost no cases of Spanish flu. They missed it. Why did they miss it? Well, you could say because of isolation. No, it's because they were healthier, just like they reduced their overall death rate. So you think the whole story I just told you doesn't apply to COVID-19. It does. It does. You got to ask yourself, okay, we had a world in distress, Spanish flu, 1919, 1920, 50 million people died. Okay? You say, all right, so all these people, 50 million people died in 2 years. Second wave was 10 times as deadly as the first. You say, all right, was that everybody in the world? You go, hey, look at Denmark, stands out. Why did Denmark stand out? Well, McDougall, Hinhidi. Yeah. So there's a lesson to be learned from the past if we want a future. Spanish flu was almost not present in Denmark during those years when Hinhidi ruled nutrition of the 3 million people in Denmark. I mean, the pork farmers got to eat pork once in a while. The rich people in Copenhagen had beef once in a while. They ate the soybeans and, like you and I eat. Yeah, like you and I. Anyway, there's a lesson for you to learn, but I'm going to give a whole talk on that. So let's get back to summarizing these 3 things before I get you all confused. And you might want to write down some questions because I might have confused you. All right, we have a whole population of sick people because they're malnourished from eating the rich Western diet. As a result, they're overweight, they're diabetic, they get cancer, they get heart disease, et cetera. They're not willing to change because slow death is just fine. Okay. We have a situation where not only do we realize that most of the diseases are caused by overnutrition, not undernutrition in the world today. We have a situation where we realize 3 million people were able to change overnight to save themselves during World War I. AJ, what just happened over the last 3 weeks? 8 billion people changed. We're capable of doing it. Now, what they need to do, in addition to isolating themselves and taking hydroxychloroquine, Plaquenil, or taking the attitude, oh, I'll just go out and get infected. I don't care. Hey, young people, you better care. Not only because you are threatening AJ and Mary and I, which has been a big topic, but you know what? Young people, you are overweight, you are sick, you are diabetic, you are going to end up on a ventilator, and that's not where you want to be for 21, 30 days and then have a $500,000 bill from the hospital and you end up dead anyways. Believe me, not many people get off that ventilator. All right. So have I made a good case, AJ? Have I summarized why all this fits together? It's not a matter of, it's not a matter of this being costly. As a matter of fact, it's a matter of taking the money away from the rich. That 1% everybody talks about. It's a matter of saying, hey, you know what? As Greta Thunberg has said, and many other people, you know what? I count too. And the kids are telling us, I mean, isn't that a shame that the children have to look at us adults in the eye and say, no, why don't you help us? Why don't you save us? And the adults are saying, oh, we got it good. Well, everything's fine. I'll be dead before the planet dies. Well, Greta Thunberg and 4 million teenagers don't think so. My grandchildren do. What little they know, they don't think so. It's not okay. So here we have a lesson. COVID-19 changed me from a very pessimistic person over the last 14 years to a very optimistic person. Not because I relish our economy going down. I've lost, I don't want to tell you how much money. We haven't been out of our place of living for a month. Didn't like that. I'm getting a little grumpy. Mary's getting a little tired of me. Fortunately, we got another room I can go to. Anyway, it's been less than a month and we can see the capability. And if we had good leadership, can you imagine what would happen? If we had somebody, and believe me, I don't want this role, nor do I think I deserve it, but I'm certainly willing to take it as I have in the last half a century. And we need leadership. We need to be told, these low carb SOBs, they need to be told, shut your mouth. We're tired of you lying to the public about your paleo diet and your low carb diets. We're tired of it. Shut up. Let's start looking at this, what science says, what the facts are. And I presented the facts in multiple lectures and papers I've written over the last 50 years. I don't want to listen to you anymore. It's just like some people say, I don't want to listen to the lies anymore. I'm done. And you ought to be too. You ought to stand up. You ought to stand up and say, you know what? I'm tired of being lied to because the consequences are everything. All right. So we need leadership. We need some person to stand up there, some man or woman who makes decisions that we can all believe in. We need to stop the, what does it say? Power over truth when it comes to food and our health. Billions of dollars being made by the food industry, killing people. Billions of dollars being made by the medical businesses, killing people. It's time to stop. AJ, we are at a pivotal moment. The world will never, ever be the same. Get prepared for a brand new, brave new world. Get ready. It's happening. It's a matter of choice. Do you want this world to be one where you choose that you're going to eat a healthy diet, starch-based, vegan type diet? You choose that, or are you going to wait for 6 months, 8 months, 24 months, 12 months, when Mary calls up Amazon Prime and says, I'd like to have 2 boxes of toilet paper, which she did this morning. And I'd like to have 100 pounds of dried beans ordered, which she tried to do this morning. The time's coming when you're going to become vegan, whether you like it or not. In fact, you're gonna say to yourself, like my Uncle Bill did during World War I. He'd say, he was in the trenches in France, was gassed 7 times, my Uncle Bill. Spent his whole life in the mental hospitals. I lived with him first 4 years of my life, and part-time last 12 years of my life. He got 76 Congressional Medal of Honor from Lyndon B. Johnson for his service during World War I. What he had to eat in the trenches in France, ladies and gentlemen, you'd be glad to eat. So here we are at a precipice. We can decide as a world, under good leadership and the facts and the truth and what the scientists say, we go one route and we can choose to be vegan. You can live on rice and beans and corn, et cetera. Or you go the other route, you can just say, let's just, we'll get herd immunity. We'll kill off the old people. We'll just sit here and wait. Well, business as usual. You know what, ladies and gentlemen? Planet Earth doesn't care about your politics, doesn't care about your gender, doesn't even care about your age. Get ready, because you're going to be vegan. You're going to be eating just like AJ and I do if you got any food. Yeah, that's what I think. What do you think, AJ?
I think it's
been exciting so far. Do you want me to be a little more controversial, outspoken? Am I clear?
No, keep going, even though you may not be able to hear me, Dr. McDougall.
Because I hate your words you're saying.
That's okay.
Anyway, I want to tell you about a couple other things, okay? Since this is playing live, I want you to know this Friday night, I will be talking to over 3 million, probably 3 million people, over 650 radio stations, 10 p.m. Pacific time on coast to coast AM radio this Friday night, which is what, April, what is it, Mary? Today's 31st. April 3. I think it's April 3. Anyway, at 10 o'clock Pacific time, I'll be on coast to coast, and I'll be talking just like I am now to over 3 million people in this country. Okay. The other thing that we're doing is this. AJ, is we're taking everything we have and we're going to make it free. I mean, we gave 80% free before. I'm taking a course that I did on, it's a CEU course, so nurses, dietitians get credit for it, but you're not going to be, because I'm gonna give it to you for free. And I did a CME course on dietary therapy for doctors. We're offering both those courses free towards the end of the week. Now, you can't get certification or CME or CEU credit, but all the instructional material that I presented on how to eat properly and why is under the initial course, which you'll find on my website, drmcdougall.com. And the course I did for doctors on diet therapy to tell my colleagues, look, this is the way you treat diabetes, treat high blood pressure, you treat rheumatoid arthritis, et cetera. It's all there, 10, 12 hours, free, starting this week. You got nothing else to do. You're just sitting around, wondering what you're going to do. Why don't you learn? You would second this, AJ. I know you would. In this free time, why don't you just take the trouble to sit down and learn from AJ and learn from people who speak the truth about, just a second, AJ. Learn from people who, show me the sign. The fat you eat is the fat you wear, yeah. But the point I'm trying to make is, look, you got to, if the most optimistic predictions happen, or we decide to let old people die and go out and send young people to work and the hell with everything, you got a month. Even our great leader said, changed his mind, said we got a month. Ladies and gentlemen, you got 3 months. You got 6 months. You got 12 months. You may have a lifetime to learn what AJ and I have tried to teach you and share with your friends and family. because SARS, COVID-1, and COVID-2, excuse me, COVID-1, COVID-2. These are respiratory diseases that have just begun to show us what the future's like. Yeah, you have a choice. You can go out and you can go on cruises, and I'm done. Can you imagine the cruise line? Do you think I feel sorry for them? Fly airplanes all over the place. I used to own a couple airplanes. Anyway, those days are done. You're going to do a lot more walking, and we're going to do video conferencing like we are now. It's a whole new world. So let's adjust. Let's take advantage of this. Let's really go and say, hey, this is an opportunity. I'm scared to death. And I want you to know I'm scared to death. I'm speaking from a point of view that this is not a flu. This is 10 times as deadly. This is not a flu. This is a highly infectious disease. This is not a flu. This doesn't kill old people. As I told you, my 2 children are on the front lines. 15% of the healthcare workers became seriously ill, died in Italy or China. Anyway, you get the figures. This is no joke. I'm scared. You ought to be scared too. But let's make an opportunity out of this. Let's just take all this fear, all this disruption, everything we've lost, and materially we've lost a lot. But I'm used to losing material things a lot. Mary and I were kind of talking last night. She says, I kind of understand why you have the attitude you have. I said, because you've lost a lot of things in life and you just stood up and went on. I had a stroke at 18. So I've lived for 55 years with a horrible limp. We lost everything in the October 2017 wildfires. Everything material. And I could give you many, many other stories. And those stories pale in comparison to what many of you have lost. So, I realize these are tough times, but we're going to pull out of this. Many of us are. And when we see the other side of the light and the world gets back to whatever function it is, let's make it a better place. Let's not let the greedy people kill our planet. Let's not let the greedy people destroy health. Let's not the greedy. I can just imagine, if we started burning carbon just by losing body fat, we'd pollute the atmosphere so bad, just the amount of body fat out there. So maybe they shouldn't listen to us, AJ. They should keep that carbon stored. Anyway, I think I've said enough. So our website is drmcdougall.com. We don't run 10-day programs anymore. Obviously, you can see the reasons. Everything's going to be free. We're going to be going telemedicine. We're a totally educational program now. We're going to be as our staff said, we're going to be just like Netflix. Yeah, we're going to be like Netflix. We're not going to be like Blockbuster. We're going to take advantage of this. And you could start by getting your health back and sharing with your neighbors and family the truth. The human being is a starch eater with fruits and vegetables. You walk around a little bit, you get a little sunshine, you avoid the medical system every chance you get. That's all there is to it, basically. That's what supports human health. All right. Yes, Mary.
AJ had a question.
Oh, yeah. What is that?
Don't you think everyone should be isolated at the same time?
Yeah.
There's still so many people out and about.
Should everybody be isolated? Well, I am. And she's isolated. Mary's isolated. So we're protected. Whatever risk you want to take, it is risky being out there. Yeah, I think you should be isolated. Think about it for a minute. Mary's almost 74. I'm almost 73. Even though I weigh less than 140 pounds, at 6 foot tall, and I'm pretty good shape. Cholesterol 137 or less. I'm scared, AJ. You don't go into my home, my place of living. Nobody does. And those are the rules now. We just got a call from the water bottle guy. He said, leave the empties outside the door. I'll leave the full ones outside the door. I go pick up packages at the concierge. I don't get to get within 10 feet of the man. So, you know, it's happening. So, H, you got any other questions, Mary?
Yeah, she wants to know whether you comment on Dr. Katz's comment.
Oh, Dr. Katz's comment. Okay. I really don't want to be negative, AJ. Let me tell you, there are people out there, and you and I have talked about it, who are telling people, hey, don't worry about this. I'm not going to bother naming any names. But the thing is, they're out there, they have opinions, they're smart people. They're trying to, whatever their motivation is, they're trying to either be different or give people comfort. I'm sure they're well-meaning people. I mean, these are my friends. If you watch the award ceremony that they gave me in October, 4th Lifetime Achievement Award for ACLM, you'll see that Dr. Katz was one of the testimonies that said I was such a great doctor. So, these are people I've dealt with, and Peter Gertzke, who's the head of the Cochrane Collaboration, has been my friend for years. And I'm not going to mention any other names. They're out there saying another point of view. To me, that just gives me a chance to say my viewpoint, which is, anybody want to turn on the news, you can get my viewpoint. We got a serious problem going on. This is not the flu. So anyway, I think these people that have another point of view, it's important. Just like people who say, we got plenty of tests. Anybody can get a test in this country. People will say, oh, we got lots of ventilators. We got plenty of it. There's got to be out there people who go, my God, I can't believe they're saying this. Wait, give me a chance to tell the truth. So I very much value opposing opinions. Otherwise, you're talking into a blank wall. So let's not discount these people. They perform a very important function. And politics, if you just watch politics, you go, I know these people are trying, but good God, why can't they do the job that needs to be done? Yeah. I really do. You've known me for a long time, AJ. I'm as optimistic about the future as I've ever been. And Mary will tell you, it's been tough to live with me the last 14 years, especially waking up in the middle of the night, realizing that we have a dead planet. And we have a chance to save it. I want you to also write down something else. If any of you are really interested in saving the planet, there's a website called Climate Healers. And a new friend I have, Salish Rao, Climate Healers, just like it sounds, ClimateHealers. He's a fellow who says, very smart man. You got to read his white paper and listen to his first lecture at least, under Climate Healers. He's a man who says that by 2026, the entire planet will be vegan. I thought that was impossible until COVID-19 came about. And you know what, Salish, I think you're right. Because we faced reality. Number one, planet will heal itself if we stop damaging it. Number two, we are a species that has the ability to change. So Salish Rao says we'll all be vegan by 2026. In other words, in the next 6 years. At the same time, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change says we'll all be dead in 6 to 12 years. So you take your choice. I'd rather listen to Salish Rao because he has a plan. And that plan involves people waking up, being told the truth, getting on the diet for human beings, a starch-based diet with fruits and vegetables, and showing a little respect for other species. Well, that's been an enlightenment for me to realize that whales, which by the way are just off the coast here, lost and dying, and spiders, and snakes. Those are species that I never respected. I came from the same type of thinking that you did, AJ, or many of you did, that you had the birthright as a human being to just take whatever you wanted, destroy whatever you want. Well, that ain't true. And we have a planet to save. Thank you, COVID-19. Thank you for opposing points of view. Yeah, we're going to see people in mass changing their diet. Why? Because there are no drugs to prevent or treat your problem. You're going to die. So change your diet. And there's no drugs. Nobody's going to invent a carbon sequestering machine. Just like no aliens are going to come here and suck all the CO2 out of the atmosphere and say, human beings, we're from planet Z. We came here to save you. It ain't going to happen. So what choice do you have? Well, you better take the, we can fix this. There are 8 billion of us. Maybe by the time we talk next, there'll be fewer people. But we have the ability to change if you're just given the truth. I mean, your own history, AJ, which you've shared with so many people, is a story of living in a cloud. And once you were told the truth and you could see it, you said, well, why not? You stood up and you've helped so many people. So, ladies and gentlemen, learn the truth. Think about more than yourselves. And let's take advantage of this horrible, what seems to be a horrible pandemic that's going on right now, and not set these lessons aside. Learn about Hinhidi. I think it's my June or July 2012 newsletter. 3 million people changed their diet to where at the same time 400,000 Germans starved to death. And they did it because a leader said, hey, you know what? We don't have to starve. All we have to do is stop eating the animals and still eat what they eat. That's all. And we have to make a choice. AJ, thank you for the opportunity. I'm sorry we had so much trouble. Wait, AJ's got another.
Yeah, another question.
All right,
It's
one
kind
more
of a
question.
long one. You want to hear it?
Sure, why not, Mary?
All right.
That's the love of my life, my best friend. Yeah, AJ, she's still gorgeous.
I agree.
Yeah, that's probably a sexist comment. I'm a man.
I think she's
Let's
beautiful.
go on. What is the question?
Um,
And she weighs less than 110 pounds.
there are a few newer doctors on the scene these days, and they are starting to push things like olive oil and claiming that healthy fats are good and that you should be eating a 30% fat diet as long as the fat is coming from plant fats.
Okay, the question.
Wait.
All right.
They're saying that
See, the streetcar right there is empty. Go ahead.
the old guys like you and Essie
Are out of date, right?
don't know about the research that oil is good.
Hey, you know what? I'll stand on any stage with any of you, and I've done it before, and I've embarrassed you right there on stage. I've showed people where your faults are in terms of your thinking. So anybody out there who wants to challenge me, even though I'm 78, 73, and I limp around a lot, and I had a stroke at 18, I'm going to kick your ass on stage. So you can say whatever the hell you want. The truth is, the fat you eat is the fat you wear. Did I say that clear enough? And besides that, these fats cause hardening of the arteries. They suppress the immune system. They set you up for infection. You watch my first talk. You will see during my first talk that people who went on a high vegetable fat diet had an increased risk of dying. I don't care whether it's good fat, bad fat. As long as you leave it in the plants, it's just fine. When you take it, rip it out and feed it to people in pills, make a bunch of money on it. You know what? You're making a bunch of money on it. Okay. So think about
was incredible,
telling
ladies
people
and
the truth.
gentlemen.
Again, I offer you the opportunity anytime on video, it'll have to be. And AJ can set it up. You want to have a discussion about whether or not I'm too old and too out of date, and Essie and Campbell are too old and too out of date, and so you will be, AJ, too old and too out of date. You want to discuss this? Let's do it now. Don't wait till I'm 89 or 95. I always thought that. I'll tell you my whole life. I thought, you know what, AJ? They're going to wait until I'm so weak that they know they can kick my ass right on stage. They won't touch me when I'm 30, 40, 50 years old, and they haven't. And I've gone up against some of the best. Well, I'm weak. I'm barely even functioning. It's time to get me. Go after me. Excuse me, did I say that clearly enough?
That
Okay.
was amazing. We got
If
it
you
on
want to
record,
name some
ladies
names,
and
you can name them
gentlemen.
on your own darn show. I'm not, listen, I have no enemies. I have no personal, I really don't. It's one of the qualities and characteristics of my life is that there may be a lot of stuff that goes behind my back, but I can't honestly think of anybody I dislike or that personally dislikes me. They might not like what I have to say. I don't care. I don't even care if you don't like me, to really tell you the truth. But I do care what you do. I do care that you understand enough to take action, because action is necessary right now. Okay. Anyway, do we have fun, AJ?
I had fun, and I think
I really appreciate all the effort you went through and your patience. And you have made a tremendous contribution to your followers. And I mean that sincerely. So let's work together in partnership. And I want you to know what, you know what the truth is. When people tell you something that's not true, I want you to say, well, my friend, Dr. John McDougall, is one of your colleagues, thinks you're full of shit. Did I say that? Will you bleep that out?
No, we got to leave
please.
it in.
You tell him that Dr. John McDougall, MD, says you're FOS.
Perfect.
And then you don't have to say it yourself. And then you say, well, here's how to get a hold of him. He'll tell you right to your face. I'm really tired of it. In fact, people say, look, you've gone up against some of these low carb, high protein people. You've just absolutely acted like you've just not been nice, John. Well, you know what? I'm not nice to people that are hurting my friends and family and the planet. If you're out there promoting a diet of animals and animal byproducts and bad-mouthing starches, you're not my friend. Yeah. So let's not be politically correct. If you don't like the way I talk to you, then you know what? You can go learn the truth, or you can just put up with my overriding personality, because I'm going to tell you exactly what I think about you. And of course, you people, when I've got done doing that, say, how can you possibly be so politically incorrect? How can you be so impolite? Well, you know what? I never learned how to be, but I did learn how to tell the truth. When I was growing up, you heard this story before, AJ, many times. My parents used to tell me, Johnny, I don't care what you do. As long as you tell us the truth, everything's going to be okay. And I was a very mischievous kid, you can imagine. I can tell you those stories for hours. Just tell the truth and everything's going to be okay. So just tell the truth.
What about what that lady said last time?
What's that?
If you don't go out onto the playing field.
Oh, yeah, this is another one. We were listening to, was it Renee or Danae Brown?
Brown,
Brianna Brown.
Yeah, Brianna Brown.
B-R-E-N-E, right?
Yeah.
The first time I've been exposed, have you ever been exposed to her, AJ? I'll tell you, I said, I'm not going to like this. And I sat there glued for about an hour and 15 minutes to her Netflix talk. And Mary says, she's describing exactly the way you've acted your whole life. People who are not in the playing field, as Mary just said, you don't have the right to criticize. So you want to stand out on the sidelines and, they did that to me. All these people say, oh, he's drunk or he's going insane or his vegan diet is making him demented, et cetera. Hey, you guys aren't in the playing field. You get in the playing field and you call me names. So if you're going to stand on the outside the playing field and you're going to criticize, I'm not going to listen to you. You get in the arena and let's talk. I've had people challenge me over the years, and I've said, okay, we'll go into a discussion. I said, but what are you going to put up? What are you going to put up? Because here I am taking my time and trouble to talk to you about something you don't disagree about. And I said, if I'm wrong, I lose a lot. I lose my reputation, et cetera. I said, what are you going to put up for this disagreement? You want to put up your reputation? Or how about $10,000? I'll talk to you. Well, I'm not going to require that anymore. It's free because I'm old, demented, and I had a stroke. And by God, I'm you got the point, AJ. It's been fun.
This has been amazing. Thank you guys so much.
I sincerely mean. And again, referring to Miss Brown, you're in the playing field, lady. You have a right to really say what's going on because you're in the playing field. You're not out there on the outside criticizing. So keep it up. Don't let them back you down. They're wrong. We're going to win. There's too much at stake. Let's see. Was I going to tell you anything else? Let's see. Free courses on our website. We talked about Hinhidi, which you're going to read in my May, I think it's May 2012 newsletter. You're going to talk about cancer, which I wrote about in my February 2015 newsletter. We're going to talk about rheumatoid autoimmune disease, which I talked about, I think, in my May 2010 newsletter. And there are 2 courses that I did. We used to charge $800 and $400 for the 2 courses. They'll be free starting this week. Got nothing else to do. You can look outside and see the empty trains and streets. Watch them. And then you'll end up on the other side of this saying, I got my health back. I'm saving the planet. You've heard that statement. You do more by changing your diet than giving up a Hummer. So, you've accomplished that. Just when this is all over, you want to be able to look around. You want to be a leader. You want to be at the head of the parade. You don't want history to look back at you and say, you were wrong. You want to look back at history. I want history to look back at me and say, you were on the right side of history. You may have lost, but you were on the right side. I want my grandchildren to never have to say, Grandpa, why didn't you try harder? Thank you, COVID-19. Thank you, AJ. So go out there and spread the good news.
Thank you, Dr.
All
McDougall.
right, bye-bye. Bye, folks.
Thanks,
Again,
everybody.
drmcdougall.com. Let's see, was there anything to tell you anything else? No, but just remember, when they say there are no immunocompromised people out there, look around you. They're overweight. They got diabetes. Half are pre-diabetic and 14% are diabetic, just from the food. They got heart disease, rotten arteries, poor immune systems. Where is the uncompromised person? I can't see that, AJ. Where's the where's that person? Where's that healthy person who you can prepare with? Look around you. So when we end up on the other side of this, you've got your health. You feel good about understanding what a proper diet for humans are. You understand how we can save this planet, because if you're like me, before COVID showed up, I was feeling pretty helpless. I had many times I woke up in the middle of the night thinking, oh my God. And a lot of other people have too. Oh my God, we don't have a chance, especially with the greed. So go get them. I mean, let's start. This is a bottom-up movement. It's not about politics. It's about you and me who have an opportunity of saying, hey guys, top 1%, et cetera. I used to be top 1%. Hey guys, maybe the top 5%. Hey guys, you don't get to run the field anymore. We're going to change this game. Yeah. Anyway, you keep me going, AJ. I'm going to get off on a track, and pretty soon everybody's going to say, what? I've had enough of this guy. But anyway, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much. Bye. Bye, folks.
Bye,
And by the
everybody.
way,
Thanks for watching. See you soon.
it's time to share.